The next argument is that Choji, when he takes his red pill, becomes 100 times stronger than he was before. So that country level calc is now continental.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It has 2 petatons of force.
No, that's not true. You're not a fucking prodigy mathematician. You're not a fucking scientist. Oh no, yet okay. So what? So you're telling me you have the same intelligence as a fucking guy that has a doctorate in a certain field?
Bro, I've beaten apparently a master's in physics.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit, bro.
So yeah,
no, you're a fucking idiot. That's what you are.
I'm a doctor.
No, you're a fucking idiot.
And today we're going to be doing another Naruto video. I also got my boy Shinobi with me today. If you guys haven't checked out his YouTube channel, make sure to check it out. I'll put it, as you guys can see on the screen. Check him out. He has some pretty awesome videos. He's done some collabs with Jay the Great. Go check him out. Give him all the love as well. Shout out to Jay the Great. The editing that you're seeing in this video is also from him. So if you're ever interested, definitely reach out. You name it, and he'll hook you up and see what he can do for you. But yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, Shinobi.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Shout out to Batman here for coming up with the idea. I think it'll be quite interesting to get into Choji, considering how he hasn't talked much about in the verse. And understandably so, but anyways, it's your boy Shinobi here. You know the drill. Let's get into this.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. And hey, you ain't wrong, Shinobi. I'm sorry, but Choji was freaking assed during part 1. He was, bro. He didn't shine until the retrieval arc. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, tuning exams was a bad look, bro.
It was bad. It was bad, bro. Like the man, like we'll get into that in the video, but anyways, but as you guys can see in the title of the video, it's Choji with the pills, and we'll do all forms of Choji as well, just for entertainment value, but it's going to be him against the Sound 5, obviously not all at once. That, come on, like, that's stupid, but we're not doing that. It'll just be 1v1 scenarios like we kind of saw in the Retrieval arc, and we'll just kind of go through, chronological order with them, and you name it. And it's gonna be a really interesting video. Shout out to Thunder God as well. He also did a video of Rock Lee against the Sound 5 or 4, I think. He actually beat me to it. That I was originally going to do that video, but he beat me to it. That man's on his grind mode, you name it. So just a shout out to him. So just want to kind of put that out there too. So whatever you people think I'm copying, I'm actually not doing that. But you guys know what I mean. You know what I mean? There's so many Naruto stuff, and I'm just behind. But anyways, we're gonna get into the video. So. At the end of the day, this is very, very straightforward. If we highball Choji and just take him like at his max, he's lightning speeds. He could turn into like a mountain at lightning speeds. He's multi-continental, Hashirama and Madara level, and he would just absolutely slam. He would just destroy all 5 of the Sound team. Like, it's not even a competition. Bro, you give him the pills. He's just on crack, and it's just a million times amplified. Like, he's like a Super Saiyan god. Okay, and that's basically what you're working with. Shinobi, he also agrees, but yeah, that's basically it. But anyways, Batman out, peace.
Choji, when he takes his red pill, becomes 100 times stronger than he was before. So that country level calc is now continental.
Are you fucking stupid? Did you not watch Naruto? Did you not watch Naruto?
Hold on, we know that it's not referring.
Fuck, you're stupid, bro.
Alrighty, but no, I was bullshitting there, as you guys can tell. So, but now we got the comical value out of the way. We're actually going to be analyzing the Sound 5 first, because it's actually really important to establish where they scale so far and over around, and who's actually the strongest to the weakest, you name it. And as crazy as it is, normally what you see consistently within all the Naruto videos, it's always the typical same order. It's Saikon, Tayuya, and then the Spider Guy, and then Jirobo. Obviously, Bone Man will be in the number 1 as well, but you guys get what I'm saying. And that's typically how it always is. And I'll let Shinobi kind of explain, but there's actually a discrepancy because there's statements within the anime that contradicts the statement that's within the manga. And it's actually really, really interesting to think about. And then where there's also feats and everything that collaborates, but I'll let Shinobi kind of spit with that for a little bit, and then I'll even conclude it.
So as we all know, Kimimaro is the strongest out of the Sound 4, and not only the strongest, but is stronger than all of them collectively put together. This is emphasized by his statements. Narratively, there's also feats to substantiate that with what he did against Rock Lee and Gaara. We all know how strong Gara is compared to the rest of the Genin at that time, so that's just a little bit of reinforcement, if you will. But it is really important to go over the overall hierarchy of the Sound 4. Now, narratively, we do see Sakon and Yukon be emphasized or shown to be the strongest, and as Batman just illustrated, in the manga, it's said that they are the strongest, and in the anime it says he thinks they are the strongest, or that they think rather. And so they have like this persona where like they take helm of leadership, they give orders to Yuya, Kidomaru, Jirobo, for example, and all of them fall through, right? Their whole overall mission is to work for Orochimaru, and so climbing up the ranks isn't really that important within the Sound 4, more so just getting the job together collectively, because they all are relative to some degree. Now, when we look at feats, right, we have Kidomaru going up against Neji, who we know is the strongest out of the Genin at the time. We have, and Sakon, adversely, Sakon and Yukon are going against the weakest out of the Genin at that time. So it really just kind of shows you, like, the hierarchy, like I said before, and there are feats to substantiate like who really is the strongest and who really is the weakest, disregarding the statements that are admittingly confusing between different literature, between the literature and the anime respectively.
Absolutely, like, you spit absolute facts. You couldn't have said it any better than I could, bro. So, like, and just to further emphasize that, like, what we see as the manga, as you guys can see, like, where Kabuto's talking is like, who would have thought the Sound 4 would take so long? They might have sent people capable of stopping them. He's over here probably referring, thinking like joning and tuning, which that was also further established and said verbatim by Shikamaru and Tsunade. Shikamaru was like, hey, for this mission, how serious it is, we probably need to get joning and tuning, and yeah, I'm up for this mission, cool. But Tsunade's like, we can't do that because Konoha Crush, we're limited, all of them are actually out on missions already. You need to get the best gettings you possibly can and just go out and try to bring Sasuke back, you know? So that's how it initially starts narratively. And then they're like, I wonder who's like slowing down the mission, you know, like, is it Jirobo who's slowing him down with, you know, his always being hungry and being, you know, a fat ass? Is it the Spider-Man guy who's very playful and loves to play games, as we've seen in the Neji fight and even against the squad when he's shitting on them, you know? We even see then further where Kabuto says, you know, but Saikon's the most troublesome. He's not satisfied until he kills his foe. He could just leave them, but he's the strongest of the Sound 4. He likes to show off. And then Orochimaru says, ho ho, well, Taiyo is no less in vain, you know, meaning she's right there as well. So it's really interesting, because that's how it first starts with the manga, so therefore, okay, simple, right? Saikon, Taiyo, and so on and so forth, right? But it's actually not the case, because there's conflicting statements, as Shinobi already said in the anime, where it's worded differently, and Kabuto says Saikon, he thinks he's the strongest of the Sound 4, so he shows off, and Orochimaru says, yeah, Taiyo has a personality that's neck and neck with Saikon. So everything else is the same verbatim and just a similar narrative consensus of what they're advocating for, but the difference is how it's worded, which is really important. So then it comes to question, okay, obviously we would prioritize the manga, right? Because that's what came out first, whatever, yada yada, right? And I would always go that direction. But the problem is, as Shinobi also said as well, when you analyze all the feats, we actually get to see who's actually the weakest, the strongest, and which statement is actually correct and has the most consistency when it comes to that, you know, that simple notion of which statement is actually, you know, the correct, right? Because that's what's in question. And just to further, like, say that, we see, as Shinobi already said as well, the Sound 4, they fight against the two Jonin that are very low on chakra, fatigue, coming back from a mission. They're all relative. They're moving at the same time. They all do CM1, you name it. They had to go CM2 to even to beat those two. Now they're fatigued, they're gassed out, whatever. And then it basically goes from there. And also, before I move forward, the Sound 4 said they had absolutely no choice to go CM2. If they didn't, they would be dead. So that's kind of a way to establish their scaling when it comes to joning as well, which is pretty bad. The Sound 4 are not that great when it comes to joning. I'm just being honest with you. Like, they didn't even go against like the most dangerous jonings, or even mid, in my opinion. Like, you could say maybe they're mid joning, but either way, either low or mid-tier joning is what they struggled with and how to go all out for. And it was a 4v2 as well, you know? So it's kind of a bad showing on the Sound 4, but I just want to kind of establish that first, and then they get very fatigued, and we all know how that works in Naruto. If you're fatigued, you're way more weaker when it comes to jutsu, AP, speed, you name it. It's just kind of how it works, and that's why the you know, Retrieval or Getting team were actually able to even have a chance remotely. Otherwise, they would have just been slaughtered, okay? So, and that's further established when we see him during the Konoha Crush arc. They literally are there. So many Jonin, you name it, and they're over here being the elite, protecting Orochimaru, doing the barrier. The Spider-Man guy no diffs to Anbu as well with his webs and blitzes them. And you're talking about high-level Jonin people as well. So the Sound 4 are pretty strong. I mean, at least I'll say for the Spider-Man guy. As for the other ones, that's whatever. But either way, we get further into it. We see Jirobo, where basically in the anime, he's struggling against, not like really struggling, but he's kind of, equal with the Genin squad. And we see Jirobo, kind of beat up Kiba. He's like punching him in the anime and like giving the 1-2-3 combo when he goes in his Fang over Fang, fodder Kiba as usual. And we see him beat up like Naruto. He beats him up, gives him some taijutsu combos and things like that. He then does like his Earth style ninjutsu, kind of keeping pressure on the squad. He's even able to, right before he gets caught by the shadow, he like immediately disappears and does body flicker, I would assume. And even like Neji was actually confused for a moment, and he even says like, where did he go? He comes out of the ground, speed blitzes Shikamaru, has him as hostage, and then he goes to throw Shikamaru to kill him, but then Choji moves and saves him, and then it goes from there. They fight a little bit further, but basically he's just beating up Kiba and Naruto the whole time, and then just talking so much shit to Shikamaru and saying you're a trash leader, And then as you guys already know, he even like put him in like that big rock dome thing, absorbing all their chakra and stuff, and then and eventually they get out, whatever. And then he has this full-on one-on-one battle with Choji, and this is really important to get into. But I'll let Shinobi, if you want to kind of tackle why this starts to make Jirobo look really, really bad when it comes to connection to Choji, because for one, he's like fatigued. He just got out of the dome thing too. You know what I'm talking about. If you want to get into it real quick.
No, absolutely, brother, for sure. Yeah. So when we're talking about Jirobo specifically, this is very it's very concrete as to where he places in the hierarchy. So when we see Orochimaru claim that Jirobo is the strongest physically but weakest overall, it is akin to what we see with Choji, and Shikamaru claims the same thing, whereas he's the strongest but also weakest overall. And when you put into perspective that Jirobo is the weakest, albeit relative to some degree, and like Batman said, he was already fatigued prior to the battle, fighting off these two Jonin, had to go CM2, which does drain them pretty strenuously. And despite this, he's able to hit everyone in conjunction with all of them being around. Kiba, like you said, for example, not being a threat at all. And so yeah, when we look at Jirobo, he had pretty good showings against the squad, and it took Choji basically to take the green pill, like we saw initially, to stop his initial barrage.
Yep.
Allows the rest of the Konoha Genin to escape as a result. And then that only does so much because he throws him away, stops the barrage, but then he has to immediately go into the yellow pill whenever Jirobo goes into CM1.
Yep.
Because as soon as that happens, he's using these corny-ass names like knee slam, elbow, you know what I mean? All this stupid shit. And you know what? It's effective, to be honest. So, yeah, Choji wasn't having that. Went to yellow pill. Had some success. He really had to do with his mountain-level, multi-continental attack to really pin him down. But I guess it's that strong. Jirobo's that strong in CM1, for example. But anyways, yeah, he goes into CM2, and that's when we really start seeing Jirobo take a lot of favor against Choji, and also take in mind the Earth Dome Jutsu, even a touch from Jirobo is siphoning Choji of his chakra.
Yeah.
So every time he's gaining power while Choji is getting weaker, and so these pills are really an answer towards this problem that he's having to begin with. And impressive. This wasn't a fatigued Jirobo, like we said. Jirobo is the weakest out of the Sound 4, and this barely gave Choji the win at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So albeit impressive, it was against someone who really doesn't stand that much of a position in the Sound 5 altogether.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And the further just substantiate that and to emphasize on why Jirobo is the weakest when it comes to the Sound 5, most of, once again, he's decent. He is messing up, the squad to a degree, whatever, but it's just, Choji, he's doing his pills, whatever, and as Shinobi said as well, and even, when Choji goes, to the yellow pill, what was impressive for Jirobo is he was actually still beating up Choji in CM1. His base couldn't be able to do it, but CM1 was still beating up Choji. And it's impressive because Choji does 3 amps. He does the green pill, then he does the yellow pill, and then he increases his hand size and makes it bigger, and Jirobo is still able to tank the attack and then just punch him in the face and make him bleed and say, get that shit out of here. And then when Choji was in the air, he then does the big, massive body move, which then, now, like, that's another amp Choji gets, and then he's forced to go see him too. So Jirobo is impressive in that regard to still be able to deal with 3 amps from Choji, but then once Choji gets the 4th amp, now he has to go see him too, you know, which makes him 10 times more stronger, chakra, you name it, speed, whatever. So, like, you know, that's kind of what you're working with. So Jirobo is not, like, horrible, right? We're not, like, crapping on him, but once again, in comparison to the Sound 4, and especially Bone Man, which is part of the Sound 5, he just can't. You know what I mean? Like, he's really Jirobo's problem, as Shinobi said. He has a lot of power, taijutsu wise, and he would definitely be the strongest in strength. But when it comes to speed, that's what he lacks. He lacks mobility and speed, and he doesn't have intelligence either. He's very arrogant, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. And that's basically about it. One of like his really cool moves is to like absorb chakra. That's pretty freaking strong. He can like siphon your chakra and make you weaker. And he can, in the anime only, he can also like, you know, basically summon a big rock that can absorb your chakra and things like that. And then in the anime only, in the war arc, when he's brought back at, you know, close to his original power, he's even able to poop on Shippuden Choji. Choji's in his butterfly state, and Choji goes butterfly state. He goes see him too immediately, and he just bullies Choji. And then Choji had to add his second amp, which is when his hand gets bigger. You know what I mean? So, like, overall, like, that's kind of what you're working with Jirobo. And it's just not good because, again, he is the slowest, but he is the strongest at the same time when it comes to physical strength. You know, do you have anything else to add with that, Shinobi, or you think that's about it with him?
No, I completely agree with you, man. What also kind of inhibits Jirobo's overall capacity as a shinobi is his arsenal, really. Like, when you look at him and Choji, they're both just taijutsu fighters. They don't have, like, the intellect, like you're saying, long to mid-range jutsus to implement. And because of that, he just lacks in so many other, as opposed to what the other members can give you in terms of their overall, you know, variety and arsenal. In terms of what they have as a unique shinobi. So it's just like he is strong, like you said, physically, but like because he doesn't lack anything else in perspective, it just doesn't really give you that much of an impressive showing from Jirobo overall, you know.
Exactly, absolutely. And once again, furthermore, the Sound 4 even agrees, or the Sound technically 3, but when the Spider-Man, Saikon, and Taiyo were together, literally they just say flat out, like, oh, Jirobo is the weakest. You know what I mean? It was a mistake to leave him behind. You know, they just say that flat out. So you have that, even they're saying that, and they, you know, they know each other, whatever, blah, blah. The narrative is emphasizing. And then just furthermore, which is also really important, because Choji literally connects to Jirobo as well. There's even a statement in the beginning before they leave during the retrieval mission to where Shikamaru is actually building strategy and given like a certain formation because he knows all of them and you name it. And he's like, Choji, you're 4th up. You don't have speed, but you have the greatest striking power. Once Kiba and Naruto launch surprise attacks, you can take the stage and clobber and do the final blow. So again, just further narratively emphasize he's the slowest, which correlates to Jirobo, him being the slowest. They're mainly just the main hitters. That's what they're for, right? You know, they're nothing else. They're not known for intelligence, nothing, whatever, blah, blah. And then this is important because we're talking about, you know, all the other Sound 4 members. Shikamaru even says, finally bringing up the rear is Neji. Rear guard is the hardest job of all. And then he says, with your Byakugan, you can assure that our squad has no blind spots, and so on and so forth. And Neji's also the quickest of the group, which is what makes this ironic, right? You see where I'm getting at? So that's basically what you're basically working in a general consensus. But going back to the Sound 5, then we have next up, which, so we're basically going from weakest to strongest right now, guys. Next up we have with Taiyo. Yeah, it would be Taiyo, the flute girl. As you guys already know, she's mainly known for a range attack. She is also very smart. She was playing like a really good chess match against Shikamaru. She can, you know, do like, she has CM1, CM2, which there's some really good amps. She like was able to speed blitz Naruto for one moment. They were like, you know, scaling to each other, but then she like is able to punch him in the face and like outspeed him for a moment. So there's that. She also has like those weird summoning creatures that are like ghosts that literally can't take any damage. And then like they have like these weird like freaking parasitic worm things that come out of their mouth that can siphon your chakra. and steal that stuff, which makes you weaker, so kind of similar to Jirobo. And her most strongest ability, the most cracked thing, which is like a really big deal because it's basically a win con for anybody that can't deal with it, is her Genjutsu with the CM2 form, where she can just play the flute and you're immediately in Genjutsu. And Shikamaru was only able to get out because he was able to use his Shadow Possession and break his finger, inflicting pain. And as you guys already know in Naruto, only ways you can beat Genjutsu is either having a Sharingan to reverse it, or inflicting pain upon your body, okay, which is only possible in two ways. If you have a source, some type of weird thing in your body that can manipulate besides you, which is aka Shadow Possession or Saikon's twin brother, or better yet, when it comes to like some other entity that may be with him, like a Jinchuriki, things like that. Another thing is also like chakra control. If you're able to beat it, there's that. The only other thing you could do is if you're a Genjutsu specialist, which is the exception, which is Kurenai, where she can just bite her fucking lip and get out. But that's Kurenai, you know what I mean? Nobody else is doing that shit. If it was that easy, Genjutsu wouldn't even be used, So, overall, that's what makes her really dangerous. And that's kind of what you're working with Tayuya. But the problem is, it doesn't make her the strongest or anything, because then you have Saikon, who's above her. And I'll kind of let you explain that, Shinobi, if you want to say why Saikon would be over the other two, yada yada, etc.
They're held to be the leaders of the group just because of how they bark orders, how they take helm of the direction of the group. And he does have this ability where he kind of does nullify any physical damage being brought upon him, because he has this weird ability to essentially transmutate his atomical structure, whether it be growing extra limbs, whether that be splitting his body apart. And it doesn't really matter. He has everything at control at his whim. And so when it comes to Choji, for example, being a taijutsu fighter, that's basically his kryptonite. And for a lot of shinobi as well, that don't have Kekai Genkais or long to mid-range jutsus that would be problematic against someone of his stature. Mind you, when he does split apart, he grows this adamantium skeleton as well, which we can't assume has better durability than what he has naturally or tangibly, right? So, and then also, we really can't go off his feats per se, because he's going off against Kiba of all people. So yeah, he's bullying him for sure. The only reason why he lost
it is fucking effortless. He was roasting him and punching his head and shit.
Yeah, no, my man Kiba was outside, bro. He's bleeding, had to stab himself to get out of shit. Akamaru's on the ground. It's all bad, bro. So, yeah, Sakon Yukon was bullying him up for sure. And he does have a really good showing against the rest of the Sound 4. With Tayuya, and specifically, she's obviously, stronger than Jirobo, just based off of default statements and implications based off of feats as well, going against Shikamaru and Tamari for that matter. And like you said, her jutsu is really problematic with Genjutsu. But because Sakon and Yukon are two bodies, that Genjutsu really isn't a problematic issue to begin with. And that's basically her biggest win con is Genjutsu.
Yeah.
So in a 1v1 situation, he would take the victor, if you will, more times than not. The only thing she really does have going for her, like you already illustrated, is the apparition jutsu, which physical moves don't work on them at all. And in return, if they do hit you, they do siphon your chakra, akin to what we saw with Jirobo. So, yeah. But besides that, Sakon and Yukon are just definitely stronger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just blatantly shown, guys. It's mainly due to abilities and him just being technically faster. Not really Tayuya, but definitely Jirobo. He would be faster than Jirobo as well. And he's just a hard counter to those two. He can't get affected by Genjutsu because he could just break out of it by inflicting pain and then healing. He can do at any moment make it a 2v1. He's really smart as well. But he can be arrogant and cocky, but he does have the ability to strategize and be intelligent too. And as Shinobi already said before, his most broken ability is he can go inside of your body and literally just use his chakra and dissolve and reform the cells and proteins of your body. It's insane. And he can fuck up your internal organs. The only way to counter that is literally hurting yourself. But then he'll just jump out of your body, and so you're fatally injured, and he's still okay. So which that would be a hard counter to Jirobo, because he'll just go inside Jirobo and then Drobo like tries to hurt himself, and then Drobo's hurt and he's not, and then he just kills him. Or better yet, one of them goes in his body and the other is out, and now Drobo has to deal with one inside his body while fighting another one of him. Like, it's just not fair, you know? So that's basically what you're working with, you know what I mean? But yeah, and that's just why he'd be over. But then we have Spider-Man, as I always say, you know, aka Kim and Mark, fucking always confuse their names, Bone Man and the other guy, but you guys get what I'm saying. But like literally, this guy, he's just blatantly the strongest of the Sound Four, and the reason why is because his feats. Like this, you're talking about a dude that just completely low diffs the entire Getting Squad. Like Neji was there, Shikamaru, you know, Kiba, Naruto, and he just deals with them all. He just puts them all in webs, blitzing them all, you name it, dodging all their attacks effortlessly, all that stuff. And then Neji's the only one that's actually doing a decent job, but then even he eventually gets blitzed by the webs. And then there was even a moment where Naruto was able to catch him off guard, but he was still able to turn around in time and block Naruto's hit. And because Naruto's a dummy, he doesn't use a rising on her. If he just did that, he actually would have killed him right there and then. But Naruto's a fucking idiot, and he's not Minato. So, but either way, you know, he does a really great job against all of them at once. Way better than what Jirobo did. And he can immediately immobilize all of them, and they're just done, right? It's an immediate win con. And then basically Neji gets out of it with his Chakra Gentle Fist, and he's the only one that can fight him, and he does really well and allows his squad to run away, and he just flat out says, okay, you are the strongest of the group. Interesting, you know what I mean? So, and that's just basically what you're working with. And then we see that whole fight, Neji fights him, whatever, you name it, the whole nine, and it's great, and he's extremely intelligent, strategizing, you know, fighting from afar, you name it, doing insane calculations and whatnot, and using his freaking sniping ability. It was just crazy, you know what I mean? He has even a summoning spider that could do millions of attacks against you. Like, he's just extremely fucking cracked, dude. He can even set up webs around to where if you're trying to attack him, he can sense that you're coming because you're hitting his webs, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So, like, he's just really, really strong, and he's a very hard counter for Saikon, Taiyuya, and especially Jirobo. Like, that's why. It's just, when it comes to abilities and intellect, like, what do? And he just performs way greater than them. Just feats and you name it and whatnot. So, that's just kind of what you were. I don't know if you want to give any more with that, you know, Shinobi, but another thing, he even goes to CM2 right away. He doesn't play around.
And now, facts. This is a great fight to revisit. I honestly forgot how good of a fight this was against Kidomaru and Neji specifically.
Yeah.
And as we know, Neji is quite a formidable opponent. Even during the tuning exams, you know, like, it takes someone of like third gate Lee's caliber to like match with him in speed and overall prowess as a shinobi. Yeah. That's insane, right? Because like even weightless Lee is as fast as like finals tuning exam Sasuke, right? And base without Chidori, of course. And then like, so you add like 3 gates on top of that. The guy's fucking fast. And to add on top of that, this is months after.
But Shinobi, Sasuke's 5th gate body.
That shit blows my mind when these motherfuckers be saying Sasuke's 5th gate without a Chidori. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah, that shit makes no sense. But yeah, man. So this is a really insane fight. You know, like Neji being a taijutsu fighter, kind of like we see with Choji, right, is something that Kidomaru deems a threat because of his gentle fist, what he can do to his chakra network, etc. So he deduces, hey, I'm gonna fight at range, and uses like kunai made from spider chakra, whatever it may be, to like strike him down to see what the effectiveness of his Byakugan can really do, and etc. He also has like a spider armor that like helped him negate the functionality of the 64 palms that Neji did on him. He also has like the spiders, and because Choji is a taijutsu fighter, he doesn't have that innate chakra ability with his fists or anything. It's just pure taijutsu. So Kidomaru really has a great showing here. The spider's threat itself is extremely hard to get out of if you don't have gentle fists. So that would be problematic if he's not in red pill off the get-go, to be honest. And as we saw, Kidomaru was playing games with the whole squad. He's putting Naruto in a spider web, shooting like little arrows at him, playing games. Like, man's clearly above all of them. Yeah, just toying with them, you know? So I agree completely. Kidomaru has the best showing against the best member of that Genin squad and nearly almost defeated him. If it wasn't for his like subtle mistake of like shooting the arrow with chakra thread connected to it, but that's plot devices for you. That's how it happens. But yeah, in terms of feats, Kitamaro definitely has the best.
Absolutely. Like, I'm sorry, Saikon wouldn't have been able to do the same. He would have got bitch. If anything, we see it with only Kiba, Naruto, and him. He strategizes, and he's able to force Saikon to crash into Taiyu, and they're able to steal the barrel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't do it. And so imagine all of them trying to kill them in a 1v4-3 situation. I mean, like, they're fucked. Taiyu would be fucked. Saikon screwed. They're cooked. You know what I mean? So, again, it's just blatantly clear he's the strongest. Like, if you guys are going to be weird and be like, oh my god, the statement says it's contradicted by feats, and it's contradicted by the anime statement, which, to further put the cherry on the top, the icing on the cake, basically, okay, Kishimoto has a Naruto website, okay, to where he explains how translation works. You name it, the whole nine. So if you guys want to see everything, I'll put that in the link in the description as well. But check it out, the link, go to the website. It talks all about how translations are, you name it. And basically, they have 3 people to make sure the translations are good. 3 of those people do separate jobs for the translations, okay? And they eventually, all 3 of them come to the conclusion of what it should be for the statement, right? That's a general consensus of it. And what's also important, they even state that there has been some moments where they messed up in the manga. It's rare, but they have, to where in the anime, it actually corrects their mistakes. So, and there's been 2 moments that I at least know as of now so far that were incorrect. It was when Killer Bee makes the statement about Taka Sasuke, and it's also for the Sound 4, of ranking the Sound 4, basically, with the statement. And that's also to be put into consideration as well, which is further substantiates, which statement's correct, supported by feats, yada, yada, yada. And no matter what, even if that wasn't the case, as I'm pretty sure Shinobi would agree as well, in my opinion, it is contingent on certain things and variables, but for the most part, feats will always be the priority. You know what I mean? Because if feats contradict a statement, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like that's just more stronger evidence, right? So, but, that's just kind of what you're working with. And that's ranking the Sound 4. And Shinobi already said it a while ago, but Kimmaru I don't really have to explain that. You know what I mean? He defeats them in the anime effortlessly. He threatens to kill Taiyu, but spares her for the sake of the mission. You name it. She was even freaking out and sweating when she saw him. He's over here fighting 2,000 plus QB Naruto clones. Come on, bro. I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to get into that. Then fights Gaara, who's freaking cracked out of his mind and would poop on the Sound 4 that were nerfed, So, like, there you go, right? That's all you need. But anyways, that's what you basically have for the Sound 5 in a general consensus. Basically, now we're going to talk about Choji and just how that corresponds, and you name it. So, first person's first, we'll just stick and go from, from Jirobo, the weakest, all the way to the strongest. So, Jirobo, me and Shinobi had this conversation. It was actually kind of interesting to think about, because the way everything starts is Jirobo is able to put them all in the rock dome, and that was because Saikon was able to break the shadow possession, so it kind of created like an off-guard moment for the squad, and they were immediately blitzed by Jirobo's technique. Not even Neji was able to get out of it, and he has a fucking Bakugan, and shit, and extremely fast. So that was more of an off-guard moment. Me and Shinobi kind of talked about that, you name it. So I don't really... You could argue that maybe that could potentially be able to get Choji in, but, I'll kind of let Shinobi explain why that's kind of redundant, that little rock dome thing, and so on and so forth. But if you want to get into that and then what happens.
Yeah, so that, I agree completely. Like, Shikamaru's shadow paralysis jutsu has never been shown to be broken out that easily, as seen by the other Genin in that squad, for example. He is the squad platoon leader. He is the only Chunin now officially, and so they have faith in his abilities and what he can do as a shinobi. And so when they broke out, almost like in rapid fashion, it was an off-guard moment. No one really saw it coming, including Neji. And so it is only rational to deduce that they were off guard, and so it allowed this ability, the rock dome barrier, to be enacted in the first place. But I wouldn't take that full-heartedly, because that's a very one-off moment that never transpires again after the fact. you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then not only that, even if it happened, me and Shinobi talked about this too before, Choji could just break out of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying he won't have the intelligence and the help from Shikamaru and Neji of where to strike it in, but what if he's lucky enough, right? And there you go, he gets out in just base, or all he has to do is do green pill. The first pill, he's definitely breaking out of that. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Like, so... You know,
right, yeah.
So overall, like, or at least bare minimum the yellow pill, right? Where he can make himself bigger, you know? So no matter what, his pills can be able to deal with that, and then it just basically just speeds up the fight. That's all really what would happen, you know? But overall, I could see Choji being able to dodge that or deal with it somehow, you know? And then it basically, you know, gets into the fight. It would basically go the same exact way, you know, and that's kind of what you're working with, and Choji would just win, right? That's basically all it is. Choji would just win and nothing really changes. And we were going to talk about there's a couple variables here. We're going to be doing Choji just starting off with the pills, right? You know what I mean? In character, and then bloodlusted. And then we'll eventually just grant Choji all the pills at a certain point as well, just to, you know, give him like some generosity, even though that's not what would be happening, you know what I mean? But just to be generous so you Choji fans don't get too mad, because I know there are Choji fans out there too. So, but yeah, so in character goes the same. Bloodlusted is even worse, because then Choji's going to be immediately popping them goddamn pills, you know what I mean? Like, and Joroba's going to let it happen because he's an idiot, you know? Like you know, or well, that's in character, you know what I mean? But if they're both bloodlusted, if we're being fair and equitable, Joroba goes CM2. Choji would have to basically put all 3 pills in his mouth. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, he's going to beat him to the punch. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. Like, before Choji gets his big, massive explosion of power, Joroba would just basically speed blitz him. So he would technically die. But if we're being generous, and it's Joroba and CM2, and Choji at Red Pill automatically, which would be the 3rd matchup, then Choji wins, right? Because we clearly know he's over, you know? That's kind of what you were. I don't know if you have anything to add, Shinobi, but that's just the way I see it. Choji takes it no matter what. Unless it's like, you know, like Joroba, if they're trying to, like, you know, race each other to max out, you know, but...
No, I agree completely. I think, you know, in this hypo scenario, we're going to put Joroba at full capacity, not fatigued from fighting with other Jonin.
If he's full power, he slams Choji. I'll say that. If he's, like, full power when he fought the Jonin, he would beat him, but...
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, a downfall of Joroba is his, like, constant need to belittle Choji's existence.
Yep.
And if he was bloodlusted, he would have just, like, seized the opportunity to defeat him when he could. But because of the plot and how it went out, we don't really see that. But right now, if Joroba was at full capacity, bloodlusted, Choji would have to, like, have the pills off rip to even stand a chance, number one. And it's honestly, like, to be honest, I can still see Choji winning if it already has the red pills consumed, because when he took those red pills and Joroba was already in CS2, he already absorbed chakra from Choji multiple times, right, with his hands and with the dome jutsu, etc. And even with all that said, Choji is able to, like, immediately, like, defend himself. Yeah, he's just a tier above. So even if Joroba is, like, full capacity, I still see Choji having a good chance winning here. But again, this is Joroba. He's the weakest out of the Sound 4, but we have to give Choji some love here, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. You know, like, and that's just basically what you're working with. You know what I mean? Like, if they're bloodlusted, you know, and they're both at max, like, and when I say max, I'm talking about Joroba being fatigued, not having full chakra and power. But if they're, like, at max while he's fatigued, and they, you know, he goes CM2 and Choji goes, you know, his red pills and everything, Choji slams, he wins. It's blatantly emphasized, and if it's in character, it would go exactly the same. The only way Joroba wins is if he's at max power when he's fighting those Jonin, because Choji is not Jonin level. Okay, he would get washed by Jonin level of power. He doesn't get to that level until Shippuden. So overall, like, that's just kind of what you're working with, and even, like, and if you take the anime into consideration, it shows all that with the War Arc 2, and so and that would go for any Sound 4 member. Just a quick spoiler alert for all the other Sound 4 members, or even Kenmar, if they're at their max prime power, they obviously slam Choji, but, you know, that's not what we're doing, because that's a no-brainer here, but we're talking about the fatigue Sound 4, but anyways, so yeah, but then we have next up, which will be Taiya. This, I'm gonna be honest, she's just a hard counter. like, what does Choji do? Like, what does he do, bro? What does he do against Genjutsu? Yeah. What does he do against 4 monsters that are trying to come at him that are not even affected by taijutsu? Or, when those little ghost things come out, he can't even fight back against those. He has to dodge it the whole time. It's really, really bad. The only... so if it's in character, Choji would probably lose because she'll just beat him to the punch, whatever, and you name it. And Genjutsu is just a hard counter. If she does that at all, at any point in time, he's cooked. He's done. You know what I mean? It's literally sound, which travels to his ears extremely quickly as well. So you have that as well. Now, if it's Bloodlusted, it would go the same way. She just goes to see him too, and she plays the flute, and he's dead before he can even, pop the pills or get his max power. Now, if Choji is at Red Pill already, this is where it gets a little interesting. But what do you think with that, Shinobi? If he's at Red Pills, do you think he can now be a tier above her like Jirobo, or do you think he would just only be like relative? How do you think that would go, and what could happen?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask, and it really does stem down to the overall hierarchy of the Sound 4. And with Tayuya, it's not as clear cut per se with feats and or statements like we've already illustrated and gone over earlier. Yeah. But what we do know is she had a okay engagement against Shikamaru. The only reason why he gained some sort of an edge was because of his intellect, being able to break out of the Genjutsu, being able to put it underneath shadow paralysis while using his ninja tools and things of that nature. Choji doesn't have an intellect, but he does have speed, right? When he has the red pill, he does get some arbitrary ampage in speed, and so that may be enough for him to close the distance per se if he goes in red pill, off rev, she's in base, right? Exactly. That's an argument to be had, but she's also very smart too. She doesn't let Shikamaru get anywhere close to her. She can help it. Yeah. And she's very well proficient at mid to long range. The chains of Fantasia, Genjutsu, the apparitions, all that are extremely detrimental to Choji. So yeah, I'd say she wins most of the time. But that speed discrepancy with Choji,
it's interesting
with the red pill. That's interesting for sure.
Yeah, and that's basically what you're working with. You're going to see a similar, a similar concept with that of this what we're saying in the video. But that's kind of what you're working with. It's either, I'll say this: if she's in base and he's already in red pill, which is very unfair and being very generous to Choji, I would say this: he could probably speed blitz her right in her base form. I don't see why not, because we've seen all the others, and where, I feel like that's pretty straightforward to say the higher probability he would be way faster, because the red pill is an insane amp, so that I could see him speed blitzing. Now, if she's in CM2, that's where it's could he speed blitz? Because Jirobo, it makes sense, he's slow as fuck, right? But this is Tayuya, and that's like saying Saikon's slow and he's not slow either, so that's where it's what really happens? And so basically, I would say this: to play it safe, if we're being generous to both sides, because we just don't really have a lot to work with, as Shinobi already said, they're probably relative, and if there's any remotely any relativity or even equal stats, he loses, right? Because of intelligence and Genjutsu, That's just kind of what I'll say. So yeah, he more than likely loses 9 out of 10 times, but could win if she's in base and he's in red pill.
Yeah, dude.
But Choji mainly always fucking loses, if anything, he loses no matter what, bloodlusted or even in character. It's just I don't know what to tell you. But since we were trying to be generous and give him some love, grant him red pill automatically and all the pills. If she's in base, then he could probably do it, right? So then you have Saikon. This is where it's interesting, because this is the funny part. Everything we said before would be basically the same exact thing for Saikon, but the problem is Saikon's a really hard counter for fucking Choji. So even if it, let's say he's on, so I'll say this to keep it simple. If it's in character Bloodlusted, Saikon wins, okay? And I'll let Shinobi explain why, because of abilities. But even if he's in base and he gets speed blitzed hypothetically, he could just regenerate. You know what I mean? It's really hard to know whether or not if he would just kill Saikon at one blow, or better yet, Saikon could just split his body as well before he gets hit. It's really interesting. Saikon actually is very annoying for Choji, and maybe even base could even be able to survive. That's all I'm saying. Because Choji only got 2 hits in that form, bro. He only got 2. You know. So, but what do you think, Shinobi?
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, Choji only does have 2 hits, right? And we saw Kiba and Akamaru. They only had like 2 hits with the Wolf Fang over Fang as well, you know. So, like, obviously Kiba is not as fast as Red Pill Choji, right? We all know that. And when we saw the Wolf Fang over Fang on Sakon, like, there was no real damage emitted.
Yeah, they ate that shit. They got hit and then split.
Yeah, he just ate that shit. And the tricky thing with like having 2 opponents is there are twice the amount of risks you have to account for intellectually, and that may be overwhelming or over encumbersome for Choji to deal with, because not only is his taijutsu rather useless, to be honest,
he can negate
time
taijutsu.
Parameters.
He has it like a weird taijutsu negation he does against Naruto, Sasuke, and Kiba. Yeah, he does it against Kiba too.
So if this was in character, right, Choji's in base, they try to, like, you know, scrap it out a little bit. Sakon's going to do the same thing he did to Kiba.
Yep.
Transmutate his body, take over Choji, and there is no other consumption of pills at that point. You know, I mean, you could argue he takes them, but like that's not going to like eradicate the threat from within your body already. Like stabbing yourself was what Kiba had to do, and you could say Choji would do that, but like that's counterproductive because you take this red pill amp and then you like injure yourself by like stabbing yourself. Like it's just a bad look for Choji right now.
It's really bad.
Honestly.
Yeah, I don't see any way. I'm being honest. I just don't. I just because he's literally kryptonite to Choji. He has healing regeneration. He can split his body before getting hit if you think his jutsu activation is fast enough. And we do know 9 out of 10 times jutsu activation is way faster than the person's body. We've seen it consistently demonstrated in Naruto. You know, so like you can argue that. Better yet, to even counter Choji, he can go CM2 and split his body, and then now Choji could take out one of them, right? If you think he could take him out, and he can't like heal the damage, but then guess what? There's still another one left. You know what I mean? So he kills one of them, but then now he dies by the second. Like no matter what, I just don't see how he could do it. like bloodlusted or not, in characters, as Shinobi said, 1,000,000 times worse. You know, if they even start feeling each other out or whatever, he's just going to go into his body or just negate Choji's taijutsu like he normally does all the time. And that's just kind of what you're working with, you know what I mean? And Choji, if he does that to Choji, that's an immediate win con. Like, he can control his body. He could stop him from even taking pills. Choji wouldn't even be able to take pills because he would just grab his arms like he did to Kiba, and he could literally manipulate his body and cells at will. Like, that's just, Choji's done. Like, Choji would have to use his other arm, right? And then basically, you know, like try to do what Kiba did, stab himself, whatever, you know. But then the problem with that is if he tries to stab himself, they'll just do what they did before and just jump out of his body, and then Choji gets hurt. And then what? You think he's gonna pop pills and like you get what I'm saying, man? Like it's just it just doesn't work. And then even if like Choji is like automatically in red pill, you can argue Saikon's still slightly faster, so he can like you know react to his attacks, or better yet, does what he does against Kiba. Summons the big gate, and Choji goes to punch it, and nothing happens, and then Choji's dead. You know, so that's just kind of what you're working with. But I don't know if you have anything more to add to that, Shinobi. But
no, I agree completely, man. I think it's just undeniable where Sakon and Yukon lay with Choji in perspective, because, like you said, it's a kryptonite, and Choji doesn't have the required arsenal to really put up a fight fairly. Nope. You know.
Yeah, no, it's just really. It's just not good. And I will say this: if Jirobo can tank Choji's fucking yellow thing, they all could do it too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear it, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on, you know that's so ratty for anybody. But what about Choji's big mountain-sized transformation jutsu at lightning speeds? You know, like that they're tanking that. They would just go CM2. He even has armor. Saikon even has armor. You know, or he could summon that big shield. Imagine that. Fucking Choji does the big move. Yeah. He tries to squash him, and then Saikon summons the shield, and the shield just launches Choji in the air. Oh man, like I just
the Shomon gates are crazy.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
you know. Yeah. So that's what you're at. But then you have Spider-Man guy. Me and Shinobi don't even have to explain this. He gets blitzed. He gets blitzed by the webs. He's done. Bloodluster or not, in character, he's absolutely killed. Spider guy could literally run away as well. Environment does matter, so if it's the forest, it's even 1,000,000 times worse for Choji, and he's cooked. If it's open area, Sure, he can't hide, but he can still fight from a distance, you name it. He's a very hard fucking counter to Choji. Now, if Choji's in the red pill, you could potentially argue maybe he could be strong enough to break through the webs. Like, there is like a statement where it says like it takes like 2 elephants to break it away, blah blah, which is a bunch of baloney because we know like, you know, the Naruto people, they're like, you know, superhumans and shit, and they use chakra to amp their bodies and go beyond, and they can casually beat up animals and stuff too and whatnot. So like, it's not saying that in a literal sense, it's mainly saying that in a hyperbolic sense, that it just takes a lot of weight, you know what I mean, or strength to break it. And all the people that we've seen to break it is either Hacks, Gentle Fist, or Mataratsu, which is also Hacks, or third, to potentially break it is if you just scale over, right? And that's really hard to determine. Does Choji's red pill form scale over the webs and can break, or does it not? We don't know. And in theory, we know the Spider-Man guy is the strongest, so maybe he can't break it, you know what I mean? Or especially if he's in CM2 and he does his webs, like, you know, I don't know what to tell you, you know? So, but even if we grant that he could break the webs, he should still be fast enough to just swing around or do range attacks, and I just don't see Choji being able to pull it off. If he's in base, maybe he could blitz, but he was over here reacting to Neji and shit, and the whole squad, you know, like, and Neji is really freaking fast, like, arguably to second gate or third gate, right? You know, so, like, I don't know, man. I don't see Choji being able to pull it off, but what do you think, Shinobi?
Yeah, so after Kiba, Naruto, and Shikamaru leave Neji behind to fight Kidomaru, Akamaru and Kiba are like, man, this guy's on a whole different league type shit, right? Like, and they've already seen Jirobo, they already know what he's capable of, and so Choji going against this guy, it really isn't fair because, like you said, Neji is extremely fucking fast. Like, there are leagues to this shit. Neji is in a different league than Choji altogether. Yes, he gets faster by 100 times maybe with the red pill. Yeah. But like, what does that really do against someone of that caliber like Neji, right? Exactly. He has the visionary prowess, the already required tangible speed stats to do shit, and Kidomaru was going through that shit like nothing, you know? So we have narrative statements, we have actual empirical feats to go off of. There's just plenty of datums to extrapolate from that really give us a fair consensus as to how well Kidomaru would do against Choji. And he has the intellect, he knows not to like fight against taijutsu users like Neji if it is problematic, and he'll just like expire your stamina until there's nothing left and then just dispose of you. The only thing that's really problematic with Kidomaru is he likes to play games. Yeah. And so like Choji could be fast enough to potentially land a blow on him in base, but like I really don't see Kidomaru allowing that to happen. He has like spider senses almost. Like, he literally told Neji, "You're the strongest out of the beginning," without even fighting him. You know, he just knows caliber of these shinobi, what they're capable of, and he's not afraid.
Yeah, he's not
like,
an idiot.
You know,
like, he'll play games, but he's not dumb enough to play games to set himself up for failure. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even do that. He doesn't even do that with Neji. He like, once he realizes Neji's way faster than him in taijutsu, he immediately concedes. CM1 and base and CM2, he's like, yeah, no, I can't fight this guy hand to hand. I just can't do it. You know what I mean? I gotta fight like a pussy and fight him from range. You know, like, so it's he's pretty smart even in character. You name it, and that's what I'm saying. It just looks really bad for Choji. And overall, as Shinobi even said, like, referencing when they fight against him. Like Kiba says, he is like leagues above Jirobo, like massively stronger. Like, it was just stated verbatim that he was way above Jirobo, like no joke. Because Akamaru can smell chakra, and we do know chakra correlates to like your power and strength, and things like that. That's where Akamaru was shitting his pants when he was, when he sensed Gaara, and then when he sensed Jirobo, they're like, hey, he's really, really strong. Does Choji really have a chance? You know what I mean? And then with the Spider-Man guy, they're like, yeah, he's way even above him. You know, so it's just so much with it, you know what I mean? But that's kind of what you got. And then Bone Man, I'm not even getting into that. I'm not explaining that. He would absolutely dog wash fucking Choji in character, bloodlusted, even with red pill. Even if you think Choji could speed blitz Bone Man, he would just tank it. His durability is insane. It's absolutely, and that man was fucking tanking Gaara's sand tsunamis and sand burials and all kinds of shit, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he's absolutely crazy. His jutsu activation's absolutely cracked. You know, it's just, he's him, bro. He's literally the leader for a reason. You know, I don't know if you have anything else, Shinobi, but...
No, I mean, this one it's self-explanatory. I mean, you think Kidomaru has a lot on him. I mean, Kimimaro has that and then some.
Yeah.
You know, so there really isn't really a debate to be had here. I mean, if Choji's struggling with the Sound 4, a majority of them, there's no way he's standing against someone who's stronger than all of them put together, right? So, I mean, it's basic math.
Wait, you think Choji beats fucking Kyuubi Naruto too? It's like, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
come on.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of what you're working with, guys. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe for more content, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to check out Shinobi as well once more. Give him all the love and support. He's growing in the snowball phase just like me. And as always, guys, there'll be plenty more with me and Shinobi along the way. Jay, and just...
体の右側はほとんど潰れちまって感覚すら